Viewer Chris from Albuquerque sent in this question: what's the worst thing you can do after a self-defense shooting? We'll talk about that in a minute. There's actually two really bad things you could do. But before we talk about that, let me let you know, got a gun giveaway going on. Happening right now, and it's absolutely free, but it does end really soon. So click the link in the description down below to learn which brand new gun you could win. Now, we're talking about the worst thing you can do following a self-defense incident. And a lot of people have suggested that leaving the scene is the worst thing you can do. That's not. You might have to leave the scene to keep yourself safe. Honestly, the worst thing that you can do following a self-defense incident is to continue using deadly force after the threat has clearly stopped, because that automatically transitions you from defender to aggressor. Now, you're no longer defending yourself. You are in the case with aggravated assault or attempted murder or homicide or something like that, if they can prove that that final shot was the one that killed the person and the threat was already neutralized or stopped and you didn't have to do that. So understand, there are some very basic elements we talk about all the time when we're using deadly force. Before you can use deadly force, you must reasonably believe that you are in imminent danger of death or great bodily harm. And that can be death or great bodily harm to you or somebody else that you wish to defend. But you are there to stop an imminent threat of death or great bodily harm. That's when deadly force is generally justified. Now, the instant that threat stops, you may no longer continue to use deadly force. So if you shoot a guy 3 times, he turns around and takes off running. It can happen. You don't just fall down. This is not Hollywood. You shoot a guy 3 times, he takes off running, drops his knife, drops his gun, whatever, and you keep shooting that person in the back as he's running away, you are going to be in very serious legal trouble. And you have just shifted away from self-defense to now aggravated assault or something of that nature. So I told you there was another thing that you could do. Another thing that you could do, worst possible thing, maybe second worst possible thing, is to mess with the evidence. Okay? I used to hear this all the time growing up. People would talk about, well, what do you do if someone's breaking in your house? Well, you shoot them and then you drag them inside. Nope. You don't move the body. You don't mess with the evidence. You don't drop a gun on the ground or put a knife in their hand or leave the evidence alone. Because if the arriving officers and the investigators take a look at things and it doesn't add up and it looks like you were tampering with the evidence, first thing they're going to ask is, what are you hiding? What's going on? Why did you think that you need to make this look worse than it was or better than it was, or change the dynamic of what's happening there? And once law enforcement officers get a whiff of a hint of an idea that you're lying, they're going to try to track that down. They're going to look at every single angle. Not that they wouldn't otherwise, but now suddenly they're like, this person's lying. This person moved the body. This person moved the gun. This person did something to try to make this scene look differently. Why did they do that? And that really impacts your ability to defend yourself legally. You might have done everything right, but if in a panic or you're scared or whatever, you make this terrible choice to tamper with the evidence, you're going to get yourself in trouble, and it might not be a hurdle that you can get over when it comes time to defend yourself. You might wind up in jail because you did that. The very least of which, it's going to make your trial, it's going to make the subsequent investigation, if it leads all the way up to a trial, it's going to make that much more difficult for you and your legal team. So tampering with the evidence typically is going to probably be the second worst thing. Now, let's flip this around. Let's talk about the best thing that you can do after a self-defense incident. Stop and think about that. You're in a situation where you are in imminent danger of death or great bodily harm, that you needed to pull out your gun and get to work, and you stop this threat. I want you to move. I want you to move to a position of tactical advantage. I want you to pay attention to what's going on around you, because bad guys run in packs. And that person who was trying to attack you was probably not working alone. And you need to make sure that nobody's coming up behind you. You need to make sure that you are not going to fall victim to another attack, angry gang member, cousin, family member, whatever it is that's going on right here. You need to make sure that you are safe in the immediate aftermath of the incident. And then call 911 as quickly and effectively as you can. When I say quickly, get on the phone and dial, and the 911 operator is going to ask you the location of your emergency. 911, what is the location of your emergency? They want to know where you are so they can get people moving that direction. Know where you are, give them the location, and give them the information that gets people headed your direction. Yes, I'm here in the mall. I'm in front of the food court. There's been a shooting. Shots are fired. People are injured. Please send police and an ambulance. Now, the dispatcher is going to ask you a whole bunch more questions. And how you answer those questions, I don't know exactly which questions the dispatcher is going to ask, but you want to make sure that you don't say anything, even what police call the excited utterance. You want to make sure that you don't say anything that could possibly be used against you. You don't want to say, I didn't mean to kill him, I didn't want to kill him, or anything like that. You want to remain calm, and you want to continue telling the dispatcher where you are, that people are hurt, and that you need help. Continue going through that. And if there's things you don't want to answer, just simply say, I don't know. It's your right to say, I don't know, because you've just been through a very stressful incident, and you shouldn't be making any statement to the police or authorities. And remember that everything you say to the dispatcher is going to be recorded, and investigators are going to listen to it later. So just tell them, I don't know. They're asking questions. I don't know. People have been shot. Get here. So the dispatcher might finally get to the point where he or she asks you, well, did you shoot him? Or did you shoot her? And then you might need to, because you don't want to lie to the dispatcher. You don't want to tell a lie. That's item number 3 on the worst thing you can do is tell lies. You don't want to lie to the dispatcher. Then instead of saying, yes, I shot him, say, I had to defend myself. Always make sure you are relaying that information that you were defending yourself. Yes, I had to defend myself. Make sure that was clear, that everyone knows you were acting in self-defense, that you were the victim of an attempted crime, and that the people who are coming to provide aid are also there to help you, not that they're looking at you as a possible suspect. So other good things you can do when you're at the scene immediately following a deadly force incident is check yourself. Check yourself physically to make sure you're not injured. The adrenaline rush might make it seem that you're not hurt when maybe you got cut, maybe you got shot, maybe something bad happened to you. Slow down and do a self-assessment to make sure that you're okay. And then anybody that you are with, anybody that you love and care about, do that assessment of them. Make sure you're checking them over, that they're okay, because they might be just as scared as you and they might not know that they've been injured. So you want to make sure you check that out. And then if people are injured, provide first aid if you can, safely provide first aid only to the level of training that you've got. You don't want to be, pretending to be some emergency room physician or anything like that. It may be the best thing you can do is simply provide comfort and tell people it's going to be okay. Go ahead and do that. But again, only if you can do it safely, because remember, this incident was violent enough that you needed to use your firearm to stop it. So you don't know how things are going to play out until the police get there. Police will get there, they will control the scene, they will take control of the situation. Make sure you're not making any statements until you've talked to your attorney. There, the best and worst things you can do after a deadly force incident. Do you carry with a round in the chamber? Because if you don't, you need to watch this video right next to me, because it's dangerous not to, and I'll explain why. Yes, you should carry with one in the chamber.